Good morning. Yeah, I hope you're still enjoying the summer holidays and haven't been hit too hard by the cost of living crisis. Today, I wanted to make a video about useful English, legal English vocabulary and expressions in basically in residential landlord and tenant. So in the UK, in residential landlord and tenant, we call it's usually necessary to have a tenancy agreement. If you don't have a tenancy agreement, you're operating under a license, which is basically month to month. So you're operating on the basis of the next 30 days, and the landlord can give you 30 days notice to quit at any time. Whereas if you have what is called an assured short-hold tenancy, which is a medium or long-term tenancy agreement, then you have a 6-month period at the beginning of the tenancy, and then in most assured short-hold tenancy agreements, the landlord has to give the tenant 2 months notice after the initial 4 months rental period. But all these things must be included in the tenancy agreement. It's also a good idea to include in the agreement basically the details of the deposit, how much the deposit is going to be, when it's going to be returned, what deductions can be made from the deposit. For example, if the property hasn't been cleaned regularly by the tenant, and the property is not being returned in the same condition as it was rented out, then the requisite deductions can be made from the deposit in that case. It's also necessary to include on what date during the month the rent is going to be paid. For example, you can have a clause in the tenancy agreement that the rent will be paid in the first 5 or 7 days of the month, similar to Spain, and things like that. It's also a good idea to include the obligations of the tenant. For example, the obligations of the tenant to allow the landlord to inspect the property with reasonable notice. Another important clause is subletting. So very often in the UK, if you want to include if you want to prohibit subletting, then you have to include this in the rental agreement, because nowadays with Airbnb and stuff, it's becoming more common for tenants to want to sublet during certain periods.